Hello friends, today we will be analyzing an article by Shri Vivek Kadju, who is a retired Indian Foreign Service officer. The article is titled Virtual Summit, Virtual Silence. If you want to download this slide, then you can get this slide in the description box. The link would be given in the description box. If you want to listen to this slide or this video in Hindi, then you can go to our another channel, that is prepezee. This is prepezee English. But one thing which I need to tell you is that we are not having a comprehensive coverage in this video because we have already covered it in this video. I'll also give the link of this video in the description box. Now the context of the article is that SCO summit was recently held under the chairmanship or presidentship of India. This summit, it was held in a virtual mode. That is just like a Zoom meeting is held. It was not held in physical or hybrid mode. What do we mean by physical mode? That is, all the heads of state or all the leaders, they show their physical presence. That is called a physical summit. Hybrid mode, that is, the leaders who can come, they come. The leaders who cannot come, they join in the virtual mode. That is hybrid mode. So therefore, it is preferred to hold a summit in physical mode until and unless it is necessary to do so in virtual mode. For example, like in COVID times. Now, we see that despite the availability of many of the leaders, the summit, SCO summit, it was not held in physical or hybrid mode, it was held in virtual mode. So now the author is asking this question that whether India is now diverging its objectives from SCO and it is not holding SCO in same position or same status as it held it in 2017 when it was admitted as the full member. So now let us analyze this. Firstly, what is the stand of government? The Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vinay Quatra, he says that holding the summit in virtual mode does in no way signify that we are trying to dilute the objectives of SCO. He in fact says that we have invested so much resources and capital in holding the SCO since last 1 year that it shows our seriousness towards SCO. He says that we have had 134 meetings and events in last 1 year. We have had many political, economic and cultural initiatives in last 1 year. And yet, despite this statement, we see that he gives no reason why this summit was not held in physical mode. And therefore, it does signify some kind of disaffection of India towards this organization, that is SCO. In fact, this is the reason itself that India has invested so much efforts, 134 events in previous 1 year, and yet when the time comes, what happens is that we go for the virtual mode. So now, in fact, when in 2017 we joined, we had so many expectations from SCO. How do we know that? See, in 2017, when India joined this organization, Mr. Modi, he was still, we can say, he was still new in the leadership. 2017, 3 years had passed. Now, he was having this image or this expectation that he would be able to call in a modus vivendi with China. What do we mean by that? Modus vivendi simply means that we know that two countries are in conflict. India and China are having border clashes, border conflicts and border issues. And yet, till the time we are not able to provide a solution to the problem, till the time we are working on a solution, we will live in a peaceful coexistence. We will not disturb each other, we will grow together and we will try to find out the solution, or even if this conflict persists for indefinite time, we will still be living in peaceful coexistence. And that is why Mr. Modi had 2 informal summits with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The first one was held in Wuhan and second one was held in Chennai in Mamallapuram. There, both of the leaders, they met and they tried to discuss these issues frankly. What are each other's positions and how can we come to a common point where we can resolve this issue peacefully. And yet, in 2020, when Galwan incident happened in which Chinese crossed the Indian border, a battle ensued and many of the soldiers were killed. Then India decided to change its position. See, in 2020, when Galwan happened, at that time, a glass broke. Whatever expectations we were having, we knew they were not going to come true. We were reminded of the 1962 war when the Chinese, despite their claims of Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, they crossed the border. This time also, we came to know that we have to respect the history. We have to learn from the lessons of history. If we do not learn these lessons, then this thing will happen again to us. So now, therefore, now India changed its stance. It reappraised its interest, and now it find out that we could not trust China. It found that China is one country which could not be trusted. And therefore, now we are seeing some kind of recalibration in Indian foreign policy. Now, coming back to the SEO summit, there are two things which Prime Minister Modi was having in his agenda. He focused on two important things. One was terrorism and second was connectivity. On terrorism, Mr. Modi said that some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of their policy. Now here, what is the most important word in this statement of Prime Minister? It is some. He says that some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of their policy. This is not a new thing. We have been seeing this in the context of Pakistan. But till now, it was just one country which was supporting and promoting terrorism. Now, when Prime Minister says that some countries are using cross-border terrorism, he is not just pointing to Pakistan. He is also pointing to China. Why? Because see, India, in collaboration with Western countries like US, has tried to bring resolutions to designate Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba leaders who are living in Pakistan and giving training to the youth to become terrorists. India has tried to designate these as terrorists in the United Nations Security Council. But every time India had tried to do so, China has put a technical hold on this. What does this mean? That it simply means that we need more information why you are calling these people a terrorist. But India has provided all the proofs. Therefore, India knows that this is nothing. China is just supporting Pakistan in its policy of bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, which it has been following in Kashmir and sometimes in Khalistan for making the Sikhs angry and for asking them to create another separate state called Khalistan. They are promoting terrorists everywhere, in India also and in other countries also. They are trying to promote other people, separatist extremists who will be disturbing India's peace. Of course, India did find resonation. India's pleas for terrorism, they resonated with the Central Asian republics. When India said that SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations like Pakistan and China, this appeal, it was also heard by Central Asian countries. Why? Because they are also facing similar issues with the terrorists who are living in Afghanistan. And therefore, we expect them to understand our seriousness of the issue. And therefore, Prime Minister also said that there should be no double standards on such serious matters. We should be criticizing them completely and fully, that you should not be promoting terrorism. The second thing is connectivity. However, on the point of connectivity, we see that India has been isolated on the world stage. For example, what Mr. Modi said, he said that Belt and Road Initiative of China, it is trampling on India's sovereignty and India's territorial integrity. Firstly, what actually is Belt and Road Initiative? See, basically it is an infrastructure initiative of China, the Belt and Road Initiative, in which China is trying to connect its territory with other regions of the world. For example, Africa, Europe. Here we are having two different routes. One is the overland route, which is called Silk Road Economic Belt. This route, as you can see, it starts from Xi'an. then it progresses through Chinese territory, it goes through Central Asian countries, it passes through Iran, then through Turkey, and then it enters from Russia, it then enters into Europe, and then it ends in Venice. The other route is maritime route, that is through oceans. This is called as maritime Silk Route. This route, it covers the most important ports of China, that is Guangzhou, Haikou ports. Then it goes on through the ASEAN countries, that is Indonesia like Jakarta, and then it goes through Kuala Lumpur. From that, it goes through Colombo. Now, when this route was inaugurated, it was saying that we will also integrate India through Kolkata. But then again, we have known since ages that this is not Kolkata. It is actually they are trying to refer and integrate Bangladesh, because the Chinese, they are making their overtures towards Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka and such countries which are living in Indian neighborhood, which India does not really like. So from Colombo, the route then progresses to Nairobi, that is, it now connects to Africa, and from there it passes through Suez Canal, where it goes on and it meets Europe in Athens, and then it again ends with meeting the Silk Road Economic Belt in Venice. So this is basically BRI, that is Belt and Road Initiative. Now basically the problem is that it also passes through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, which is actually a territory of India, and therefore India does not really like this. India says that this is a disputed territory. Pakistan has occupied this territory illegally, and in a disputed territory, no construction should take place without the consent of parties involved in this territory. And despite that, Chinese have constructed Trans-Karakoram highway through here. They are also making different other infrastructure projects, Karakoram, like for example, they are trying to make pipelines also, railway lines also, and therefore they are again trampling on Indian sovereignty in this area. In fact, within this summit, in this SCO itself, China announced that now it is the 10th anniversary of BRI, and therefore they will be holding a third forum, third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. Already 2 editions of this Belt and Road Forum have been held. The first one in 2017, where 29 heads of states participated. Then second one, it was held in 2019, where again 37 states, that is heads of the state, participated. So we see that here China is getting support from different countries, and surprisingly this is happening when now most of the countries, they have noticed that BRI is not actually leading to economic growth as promised. It is instead, it is leading to debt crisis in the countries who are now a party to Belt and Road Initiative. You see the example of Pakistan. It is reeling under economic crisis. It is going towards IMF, it is asking for arms, it is saying that please give us money, we are not able to survive. It is going to Middle Eastern countries like Saudi, it is saying please give us money, we don't have anything to eat also. Then again in Sri Lanka also, you see that the conditions are of economic emergency, political emergency, people have attacked the symbols of political power also. And despite these examples, we are seeing that the countries are still interested in participating in BRI. And therefore, this is our problem. Problem is not just this, that countries are participating. Problem is this, that tomorrow, by making these kind of routes, China is in a position to cut off India from these routes. And therefore, India must make its own efforts against BRI and to get close to other countries. For example, here, India has tried to invoke its Buddhist connections with the Central Asian countries. This is a good strategy. However, this is just ancient relations, and we need to give something tangible, something concrete which the countries see. For example, see, India has invested in the Chabahar port. This is in Iran. Why? Because we wanted to get connected to the Central Asian countries here. So these Central Asian countries, through what is our effort? We will go from Mumbai to Iran, where we will be meeting the Chabahar port. From here, we will go to this place called as Zaranj, which is on the border of Afghanistan and Iran. From Zaranj, we'll go to Dilaram and further to Kabul. In Kabul, we seek to do. We seek basically to further transverse this territory and go to the Central Asian countries. However, this is still in question. Why? Because India's relations with Iran are not stable. They are volatile. Mostly because of India's other relations, for example, like with US. So basically, when the US-Iran nuclear deal, it broke, then it also led to some other problems which were impacted on India. For example, India was asked, US imposed sanctions on Iran. And it asked India also to decrease its imports of oil from Iran, which India did. And therefore, now Iran says that since you are decreasing oil imports because of sanctions, we will also not be very affinate towards you. We will also not be very close or brotherly towards you. The affinity has decreased. In fact, Iran also declared that Chabahar port is not for exclusive use of India. Even China could use it, and therefore it defeats the purpose of having this port. Apart from Chabahar, India is also trying to make other projects, for example, INSTC, that is International North-South Transport or Transit Corridor. What are we trying to achieve through this? Through this, India is trying to get connected to Europe and the other parts of the world. How? From India, we will go to Iran. Using its port, we will now go through overland port, and from here we will access the Central Asian countries or the countries which have broken away from the Soviet Union. Through this we will pass through, we will go to Russia, and then again we will enter the Europe. Also there are other routes also, like we will go through Suez Canal, which we are presently using also, and then again we will go through this and then we will access Europe. So this is what India is doing, but then there is a need to intensify these efforts. We need to have a pragmatic policy towards Afghanistan. And also we do not need to actually engage Taliban, but then again pragmatism, practicalism is important. We should not be giving diplomatic relations or diplomatic recognition directly to Taliban, but then again there are other possibilities also which should be explored by India. Now, if we are talking about Ukraine war, what was said about it? Nobody actually mentioned Ukraine war. In fact, SCO declaration also, it was silent on the Ukraine war. Only Putin, Russian president, he mentioned about the Ukraine war. He actually castigated West on this. He said that you are trying to supply Ukraine with weapons, you are trying to supply ammunition, you are supplying cluster weapons also to Ukraine. So he basically castigated. Castigated means he rebuked the Western countries. He reprimanded them. He admonished the Western countries. And he thanked the SCO members like India and other countries for their support to Russia. In fact, if we talk about even China also, Xi Jinping, he did not really say anything about it. He did not also give any public support to Russia in the wake of Wagner mutiny. He did not really say anything about it, and therefore we see that on this Ukraine war, SCO response has been muted. Now, if we talk about the future, we see Mr. Modi, he did not really held this meeting or summit in physical mode. Why? Because he wanted to avoid physically meeting the Pakistan PM Shehbaz Sharif and probably Xi Jinping. We have already seen that when in Goa, the foreign ministers of SCO met, the foreign minister, S. Jaishankar, he was not very friendly towards Pakistan foreign minister. And therefore, we see that now when we were having this summit, Mr. Modi was not really interested in meeting the leaders of SCO. He was trying to avoid any controversy because of the successful US or Western countries visit he is currently having. He was having a US visit in which there were many important agreements were signed. Apart from that, now he is on the visit to France, where again we are trying to have a deal, we are trying to have an agreement for a jet engine. The better thing, that is the better deal is with France, because here we are trying to have 100% indigenously made jet engine. We are trying to get the technology transferred so that we can make the jet engine indigenously without any contribution from the other countries. So therefore, he was trying to avoid any controversies. But then again, by showing this, that he did not want to have a physical meeting, he could really show to the world that SCO is not a priority for India. We will get to know that, see, what is the stand of India. We will get to know when BRICS meeting is held. Here the deciding factor might have been Pakistan, but in BRICS, Pakistan won't be there. So therefore, in South Africa, just 1 month later in August, we will be having a summit again in South Africa. Let's see if Mr. Modi, he wants to visit this South Africa for BRICS meeting or not. There we will answer this question, that whether he is trying to avoid China or Pakistan, or what was the real reason. And in fact, India is now looking to host G20, which will be a diplomatic sun moment. That it will be a moment where India will show its diplomacy. However, presently, as of now, it does not really look good. Why? Because there is no consensus over a joint statement. In fact, the Western countries, they are adamant on making a remark on Ukraine. They want to reprimand Russia for attacking Ukraine. Russia and China, on the other hand, they do not want anything like that. And therefore, there is a stalemate. There is basically deadlock. So therefore, it remains to be seen whether India will be able to hammer out some kind of joint statement, or whether it will have to do with only a chairman's statement. So this is what we will be discussing later when G20 and BRICS summit happens. If you want us to make a video on any other subject or topic, please let us know. If you like this, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.